Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and I have an unboxing and setup video that we're going to do today, and this is on the Phantom 4 Pro. Now, if any of you remember, I did a video setup and unboxing on the Phantom 4, and so this isn't going to be too entirely different, but I wanted to go through this process because it was very helpful to a lot of people. I had a lot of people send comments and just say that they really enjoyed having that video. You know, not that DJI doesn't do a pretty good job of walking you through the process, but in my opinion, you know, especially, you know, if you have one of these on order and you're waiting for it to come in, I mean, you know, you need something to do. You need something to watch just so that you can kind of prepare yourself for something so new. And if you were like me when I got my first one, I was apprehensive. I was kind of maybe a little fearful that I just wanted to make sure that I did everything right and that I didn't turn this thing on and then it just flies off into the sky and explodes, which obviously didn't happen. But it is important to set these things up properly, to have a good understanding of how they work. And even though the Phantom model has been out for a while, it's still good to have a little bit of information on it. So we're going to take a look. Same case, as it looks exactly the same as the case that came with my Phantom 4. You basically have this little latch here. You just open it up like so. And we have our Phantom 4 Pro. Now this is the model, and it looks like we've got some cables kind of in the way here. Be very gentle when you pull it out because it does seem like it is a little tight of a squeeze in here. We've got our props. So anyways, you know, the Phantom 4 that I have, I've really loved it. It's been a great drone, and I'm a camera chaser. I'm chasing camera quality, picture quality is what I'm after, and the only reason that I'm playing with one of these when I have a Phantom 4 already is the better camera. I want a better picture, and you know, the Inspire 2 hasn't started shipping yet, and so here we are with the Phantom 4. We've got our instructions and all that stuff here. We've got a little section to remove which has room for extra batteries. We've got our OTB cable here, which you use for software updates, and then we also have our USB, micro USB to USB-A cable that you would use for connecting your phone or tablet. Now, if you're wanting to use an iPhone or an iPad with this, you're obviously going to need to provide your own cable. If you have a newer phone, or a newer tablet that takes USB Type-C, you're going to have to provide your own. Now, something that I feel would be very important to mention is on DJI's website, they have supported devices listed. Now, they list them as recommended devices, but if you use a device that's not on that list and you have a problem, they are going to try and use the fact that you used another model that they don't support, even though they say recommend, which is a totally different word than support. They are going to try and use that against you should you have a problem. So what I recommend you do is get a device that's supported. The Phantom 4 Pro definitely has a larger list of supported devices than the Phantom 4. I had a problem with my Phantom 4 that they refused to help me with at first because I had I had an incorrect device according to what they were saying. I was using a Samsung Galaxy Tab S2, which is a device I've been using on all of the drones that I've had, the Inspire 1 Pro, on my Phantom 4, and it's worked just fine. So I don't understand how it's not, you know, supported or recommended or whatnot. But anyways, they did try and give me a hard time, and so I recommend, if you feel that you're going to need help from them, that you use a supported device so that you don't have to deal with them telling you that you ruined your drone because you used a device that wasn't supported, when on their website it actually says the words recommended. I will wonder if they don't end up changing that wording pretty soon to avoid, you know, confusing people or whatnot. So anyways, all the props have this little plastic you have to peel off of them. And there we go, we've got all that peeled off. And we have our 4 props. You'll notice that on the top of the props, some of them have a black ring, some of them have a silver ring, and some of the motors on the quick releases have black dots, and then the other ones have no dot at all. And on the no dot at all, that is where you would put your silver prop, and then of course on the black props you would put, or on the black motors you would put the black props. And so we'll peel off these little warning stickers here, you know, all sorts of little stickers all over everything. Even the sensors on the sides, all of them have these little stickers over them that you need to remove. It looks like the rear and the fronts do not, but the sides definitely do have these little stickers. Now, your Phantom 4 Pro, your Phantom 4, all of them, they come with a battery already in the bay. So your battery is already in the drone itself. You will need to charge your battery prior to flying. It comes with absolutely no charge, or if you hit the button here, it does show that it has just one little bar of charge, and that is not enough to send your drone up into the sky. If you do that, your drone may take off, and then within seconds, it will want to return to home. And if you do all of this too quickly without allowing it to have found its home point, you're going to run into problems. So I recommend just being patient, take your battery out, and go ahead and get it charged. So the props go on really easily. I love the quick release system, and it looks like they've even added a little spring maybe for a little bit more pressure against the blade to hold it on even a little bit tighter. You simply push down, and on the blade you can see a rotation direction. You rotate it, these silver blades clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen, and then the other blades are the reverse. The black topped blades are reverse. On the gimbal, you also have this gimbal lock that's in place, which is really there just to protect it from getting banged around in transit. Obviously the gimbal flops around and you don't want that to happen when you're in transit. So I recommend keeping this in your case, and whenever you're traveling with it, just snap that on, especially if somebody else is going to be handling the case that your drone is in. Recommend just snapping that on just to protect it. There also is a little block that goes right below here. And I would recommend hanging onto this one too and keeping it, because it keeps the gimbal still, keeps it from bouncing around. And you know, I've had one of these drones fail on me just from flying in moderate wind, and the wind knocking the gimbal around, and something came disconnected, and then I had a problem with my drone. And so I highly recommend taking extreme caution with your with the pieces and parts to your drone. Make sure that they stay well protected. So our RC, our remote control here, comes wrapped in plastic, and it's kind of a fun puzzle to get this off. There is no way that you're going to be able to get this off without tearing it, because you know, they put the plastic around it and then they assemble this. So I mean, the only way to really get this off is you're going to have to unscrew all of this and, you know, get the plastic off. But unless you're crazy and you really want to save all of your plastic, you don't really need to get carried away. I mean, sometimes I do, and I think it's probably easier just to tear the plastic and get it off of there, or use a knife or something like that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through the plastic tearing process and get a charged battery in the drone so that we can fire it up. All right, so one of the beauties of the Phantom 4 Pro is that they decided to allow us all to use the same batteries as the previous platform. So what's great is that the intelligent battery has pretty much remained the same. However, the new battery that comes in the Pro does have a slightly higher capacity, so you're gonna get better battery life out of the Phantom 4 Pro batteries than you would get out of the batteries that came with your with a Phantom 4. So if you're like me and you have about 4 or 5 of those batteries, sure, it's a bummer that you are now, you know, not going to get as good a performance out of them, but at least you can use your batteries. At least you're not left high and dry. And, you know, like if you're an Inspire 1 user like me, you're not going to be able to use those Inspire 1 batteries with your new Inspire 2. So, you know, it just is what it is. So I'm going to take my phone here. On the side here, you have a little button that slightly adjusts, and then you have these little feet that kick out for using a phone, or you can put the feet back in if you want to use a tablet. It just kind of makes it easier for you to fit different size devices. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my phone in here. I've got a USB to USB-C cable that I could plug in. And on the base here, there's also a micro USB that you can use for firmware updates and stuff like that, should you need to do that manually. But typically your phone being connected to the RC, the radio control, will take care of that. So let's go ahead and power up the control first. You simply tap once and hold down on the power, and you'll hear that tone, and it will fire up. Your phone, if you're on an Android phone, it should ask you for which application that you want to run. I have several different drone applications that work with the Phantom platform, but I'm going to load up DJI Go, so I'll go ahead and hit DJI Go, and then I can choose Always so that it's the default. I'm on Android, so that's the operation for that. If you're on an iPhone or an iPad, you typically would just need to go ahead and open up the application and be ready to go for you. So now the RC is powered up, it's connected to the phone, and now what I need to do is actually power up my drone. Now I have not put an SD card in the drone yet. The SD card slot is over here on the side, and I know that it does come with a very small SD card. We've got a 16 gig SD card, which is enough to get you by, but I would recommend getting a bigger SD card, especially if you're going to film in 4K, or take advantage of the fact that you can take kind of rapid fire photography with your drone. So the button on the back of your battery is also the power button, and you power it up the same way. You tap once and then hold it down, and it used to beep. Now it doesn't. You simply, oh, there it is. There's the beep. It used to beep right away, but now it you can hear the fans kind of turn on. You can hear it beep. You saw the motors jitter a little bit, and then we're ready to go. Now on the phone, we've got our screen. We need to activate this device. So I'm going to hit agree. I'm going to tap next to activate it. I could input a name for my device, so I can call it, you know, whatever I want. I'll just call this Phantom Pro. I don't need to get fancy with my names. Hit continue. It also has your control mode. I would recommend using mode 2, which is their default. That's kind of the standard, but if you're, you know, maybe left-handed, or you want to try kind of setting it up differently, or you have past experience flying and you want to set it up differently, you can do that. You can also customize your custom 1 and custom 2 buttons, which are down here. I'm leaving them as default, which is camera forward down and camera setting. There, it just makes it quick launch so that I can get in and out of different settings. We also have our units of measurement. By default, it's saying that it wants to go video output as PAL. I want it to be NTSC because I'm here in the United States. PAL is for pretty much anywhere else in the world, with the exception of a few places. And then we'll leave our measurements to Imperial so that I don't get confused being here in the United States. Beginner mode is something that I highly recommend staying in if you're brand new to this. Beginner mode is going to limit how far you can go with the drone. It's going to really kind of leave the training wheels on for you. And I highly recommend that you leave the training wheels on while you're practicing. Now, I've flown these before, so I typically turn beginner mode off. I don't really need that. And then lastly, it's going to ask you to activate to your account with DJI. Now, if you don't have one, you're going to quickly need to set that up. It's just email address, password, very simple. And you already have an account if you purchased your drone from DJI and registered through their website. Now, they also have DJI Care. You can come in here and you can purchase DJI Care. I will look at that later, and I may actually go for DJI Care because DJI is one of those companies that does not do very well with customers unless you have some sort of an agreement with them. And I just don't, I didn't in the past, and it really kind of made it a pain in the butt to deal with them. And I just, you know, it was a pain. So the app is doing this weird thing on my Android. It's actually asking me to download a new version of an application. So I'm going to go ahead and download a new version of the application. That was a little unexpected. It's not taking me to the App Store. It's actually asking me to download an application. And so apparently they are updating the software, and they did not include that, from what it looks like, in the actual DJI Go package, the download package. Who knows why? Maybe it just hasn't been pushed out live yet. Sometimes companies take a little bit of time to push that out, but this is going to take a couple of minutes to download. It's, you know, apparently kind of a large file, so I'm going to wait for that to take place, and I'll be right back to get that installed. All right, so now I got everything connected. I got it working. I had to make sure that I had the latest version of the app installed, DJI Go 4. It seems like they are going to be using this new version of the app for their newer products and phase out DJI Go 3. So make sure you have the latest version of the app installed from the Play Store or from the App Store if you're on an iPhone or iPad. So now that I have this all set up and powered on, you can see in the app here I have a firmware update. So I'm going to tap on that firmware update, and it's going to tell me exactly what I need to do. I need to ensure my battery is above 50%. And it tells me the update log and everything that's in there. And it says to prepare the update, use the adapter cable accessory to connect. So I'm going to need this little guy out of my box. I'm going to need to rotate my drone around so that I have the micro USB port on the side. And I can go ahead and then unplug my, my phone from the cable here. And it takes me back to the beginning of the app. And then plug it into the accessory cable, and then plug that cable into the side of the drone. So right now what it's doing is it's asking to launch the app, so I could tap on DJI Go 4 again, and it says it's connected with aircraft, checks to make sure there's a firmware update. Go ahead and tap on that, and now it's starting to download that firmware update. So depending on your internet connection, the download could take who knows how long. And then also once the download is done, the process of running that update is going to take place, and that could take up to 15 minutes according to what they say. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip past this. You don't need to sit here and watch me download an app. We're going to go ahead and just fast forward through this process. So we'll be right back. All right, so the firmware update was a success. It was a slow download, but we got it taken care of and did a restart. I always remove the props when doing the firmware updates. You never know, something could go wrong and the firmware update could cause something weird, and so I just take the props off. It's just, I've always been fearful of my drone taking off for some odd reason. I've never had it happen, so it's just a precautionary measure. I recommend taking the props off whenever you have to turn your drone on and you're unsure as to what's going to happen. I probably should have waited to put the props on, considering all of the little hoops that we've had to jump through. So now that we've got it ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and power the drone on. I've got the app opened. I've got the RC powered on. And soon here we will get the little notification that says go fly, which is what you're looking for. Otherwise, it's going to give you other notifications like running your software update or whatever else. If you're not seeing go fly, if it says not connected, it will, over here on the right hand side, it'll say RC connected, and then it'll say that this is connected. It'll show you the battery life of your drone, 45% currently, which I do recommend fully charging your battery first, as I mentioned before. So now it says that it's giving me some tips. I can hit OK. It says ready to go, and now if I wanted to, I could fire this thing up and go outside and fly. Now on the back, or on the front of the remote here, there's a little sticker that you'll need to peel off, and this little sticker allows you to change from different modes. You have P, S, and A, and these different modes are flight modes, and it allows you to switch between them. Sport mode is the one in the middle, and that one's really fast. That's you're going to lose some of. I definitely don't recommend going into sport mode right away. So we have these 3 different modes to choose from, and you can also learn more about those modes by coming in here into your settings and going in and looking at the flight mode. You do need to enable multiple flight modes within the app before making the switch is going to do any changes. So I can enable this, and it's going to allow me to choose between P for positioning, S for sport, or A for attitude mode. And I recommend just going with positioning mode. If you're in beginner mode, it's not going to let you mess with any of those at all anyways. So I recommend playing around in beginner mode first, and then as you get more comfortable, come out of beginner mode. So return to home altitude, depending on where you're flying, you will want to make sure that if your drone has to return to home due to low battery or loss of connection or whatever, that it raises up high enough and flies at a high enough altitude to not hit anything. So 30 meters might not be enough, depending on what you are flying around. If you're out in a park or something like that, it probably won't be a problem. But if you're flying around town, you may need to bring it up a little bit more. Increasing your return to home altitude is going to increase the amount of leftover battery life you have left, because the reserve that's going to be in there in your battery to be used to return to home is going to use more, because it's going to have to fly higher in order to get home. So keep that in mind with your return to home altitude. We also have some settings in here for our altitudes and distances when you're in beginner mode. So going through the app here, you definitely have lots of options, and I recommend that you go through these and just kind of see what all of them do, and look and see what all of these different options are. We have our low battery warning. You can actually adjust that so that you get that low battery warning maybe a little later or earlier. And then you get your critical battery warning as well. We also have settings for our gimbal. We have an FPV or follow mode, and it's by default in follow mode. FPV mode would be if you were using some sort of FPV goggles, which I have not done yet with the DJI Go app, but I have done with third-party apps. So that'll be interesting to try out. And then there's just lots of other little settings and stuff in here that you can kind of adjust and look at. But in beginner mode is kind of like using the automatic mode on your camera. It's going to be guided, it's going to help you do things, it's going to restrict you from doing things, and it's a good place to be when you're still learning. Now lastly, I just want to quickly talk about camera modes. You definitely have different camera modes to choose from here. Automatic mode is what it comes in, and until you're familiar with using your camera, I would probably just stick with automatic mode. But we also have manual mode, which is my favorite mode to be in because it gives me more control over the picture, and it doesn't allow the camera to just go and choose the exposure that it wants. It's going to choose the exposure that I want. And so I'll probably come back and do another video kind of helping everybody understand how to use manual mode with their drone camera. And we actually have a channel dedicated to using manual mode on your camera called Ditch Auto. So make sure to check out the link in the description below to check out that channel, and that's where we will be putting the video up talking about using manual mode with your Phantom 4 or Phantom 4 Pro. So hey, that's gonna do it for this video. We're gonna come back with a full review. We're gonna go outside and fly this and talk about it a little bit. So we'll come back with another video there. This video was simply an unboxing and initial setup, which has always been kind of a rocky process. So keep in mind that just be patient and know that this isn't the type of device that you just pull out of the box and run outside and start flying. You need to go through the motions and get this set up properly. So whether you're on an iOS, an iPhone, an Apple device, or you're on an Android device, make sure that your apps are updated. Make sure that the firmware is updated on your device, because you want to make sure that everything is good to go before you go out and set this thing off into the air. So hey, thanks so much for checking out this video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. Head on over to Ditch Auto so that you can check out some of our manual camera reviews and just tutorials and all that good stuff. And we hope to see you back here soon. Thanks a lot.